Pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we're gonna pause for a second because,
Mm-hmm.
in case you can't tell,
Oh, boy.
we're all dancing.
Dancing.
Hey,
Music out there.
lumberjack.
There we go.
That's dancing to that EDM music.
Really left-handed. So where should we get? Call to the community. This is the time for citizens who would like to address city council on any non-agenda item. Action taken as a result of public comment will be limited to asking staff to review the matter, asking that the matter be put on a future agenda, or responding to criticism. We didn't have anybody last time. Doesn't look like we have anybody this time. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Nobody's calling in, right? It's just you're either here or you're...
Correct.
Okay.
Commissioners can phone in if they're in a situation they can't get to a meeting, but otherwise, public meeting and has to be in person.
Gotcha. We have no response to the call to the community because there were no requests at the January 12th meeting. Business, approval of minutes. Presenter, Tricia Kramer, Director of Community and Recreation Services, pardon me.
Thank you, Chairman Taddy and Commissioners. The meeting minutes are in your agenda packet. If you need a moment to go through them, before Chairman Taddy entertains a motion, I would go ahead and do that.
Do we have a motion?
Motion to approve the minutes from last month's meeting?
Second. Are there any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Minutes are approved. Yard of the Quarter selection, presenter Anthony Taddy. Discussion and possible action regarding the nominations for Yard of the Quarter and selecting a home for recognition, information action. If you guys look in your packets, there are, I believe, two that were, so we had more than two nominations, but two, they were similar, they were the same house. So.
That's kind of crazy. Hundreds of houses.
That's what happens. So we have two choices. We can try and get more nominations, or we could just go ahead and vote on these two houses, one of which would then be Yard of the Quarter, obviously.
I would say you probably still want to vote that these are the nominations, and then everybody go out and look and give your tallies.
Yeah.
Don't change the rules.
Yeah, for more nominations, we're gonna lag behind our deadline for quarters.
Okay. So this is information action. Do we need to vote on that, or is it just, hey, here's the nominations, we go vote?
If someone would like to move to name these as the nominees and move forward with the voting, I think that should work just fine.
I move that we name these as the nominees and proceed with voting in the weeks.
And the results for next month's meeting.
I'm talking deadline of like probably the end of February, February 22nd-ish, 25th-ish. That's a Friday, I think, the 25th.
Yeah, I think if you can get them to me by the 24th, that will give me time to tally those up and get those incorporated into the March agenda, so that you guys can formally announce the winner at your March meeting.
Any chance you can do that Google form for us again? That was awesome.
Right on.
Will you send that in an email, Tricia?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Any questions? All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? And it is passed. Orange tree painting. Presenter Kyle Ames, Director of Public Works. Discussion and possible action to set a date for a community event, painting orange trees. Information action.
Thank you, Chairperson Taddy, members of the commission. The Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts have reached out to us again to volunteer their time to paint our city community orange trees. So we're bringing it to you guys to see if you guys want any involvement with this as well. I think we did, you guys were part of it last year as well. So we need to try to set a set date for this event. They've mentioned that they wanted to do it sometime in March. I know we have a lot of special events coming up in March, so a lot of those weekends are pretty tied up. I think there's a select few dates that we could choose from, or we can potentially push it into April timeframe if we need to. So we're open to discussion and try to set a date for this.
I have a couple of questions. Does anybody want to go first? So last year, they arranged the dates around the seeding, and they wanted us to paint once the seed had taken. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, so I was thinking the same thing. It seems like it hasn't been like a year. Didn't we do it before the winter overseeding? Am I thinking crazy?
There was even a segment right down Old Litchfield Road that they were like, don't do that area yet, so the seed hasn't taken.
Did we do it earlier last year than?
I think we did a little bit later last year than we did, because we usually seed,
November.
yeah, we usually seed in October timeframe, so maybe that's what it was.
Are we way ahead? Like, I mean, do they need to be painted again? I think it's a great idea. We should do it. Like, I just don't.
Anytime somebody says, can we paint the tree?
Yeah, they definitely need to be done again. Just over time, they've chipped off, faded. It's good for the orange tree in general, just to keep them white and fresh.
I think it's in my backyard too.
Can I make a suggestion? I feel that this was a very successful event, that we participated in last time. The kids had a great time. I had a great time. I feel that we could do this every year if we could maybe wrangle it in and have a plan. And each year you guys could designate trees, because I know there was a list of trees that we didn't get to, and I see them every time I come into the park, like, we missed that one. But I believe that the staff was going to report back of the trees that weren't done, and we were going to take care of them, and that never happened. But maybe if we could have kind of a tally, like quadrant A, quadrant B, and you could attack it that way each year. And so those Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts and any other volunteers always know, hey, that tree painting thing is going to come up in whatever time frame.
Right. Yeah, we definitely can do that. I'm trying to remember exactly when we painted them last year.
Maybe a year and a half.
Do we seed in the spring?
It could, yeah.
It was before overseas, is all I
I probably
remember.
have it on my
Yeah,
calendar.
and like Richard, Christoph and I met with Richard the week before the event to get to get all the supplies and stuff, and he was talking through the whole area down Litchfield Road, right? That's where we couldn't, Litchfield Road, because the seed had not taken yet.
Yeah.
But luckily, the Boy Scouts, I think, or the Girl Scouts, one or the other, came through like a month later and said, well, we want to do that too, and they went down and they painted them all.
Oh,
That's what it was.
okay.
Yeah, okay.
Is it 21?
Oh, man.
That's my guess. Had to be a year and a half.
Couldn't have been
Because I remember-
I don't think it was this October.
I don't think so.
you're right.
We had it down to a science by the end of the day. We had like 3 golf cart people, like kind of running
Sure, it's
support.
October.
We had,
Right, for overseas.
teams that were going through really well. We had, contact with St. Thomas Volunteer Organization,
Mhm.
and they brought out a small army, and we had volunteers from, I wanna say it was the Builders Club
Mhm.
and the, what was the other club, Susan? You were in charge of the high school kiddos. Were they just?
It was honors and some of the,
Yeah, Chess Kids.
yeah.
Yep. Key Club, that's the other one.
Now, how often
November.
should they be painted?
Once
What's
a
the
year.
industry standard?
Once a year.
And so if overseeding creates a obstacle for
Time
us,
flies.
is this something, instead of just waiting for people to volunteer, if it might be something we say, hey, every March, whatever that time frame looks like, where we don't have stuff going on, we don't have to work on parking and all that kind of stuff for arts festivals and stuff, let's pick some time every year where that's it, and when people
Yep.
say they wanna paint, they say, great, come out March 7th.
Yep, I
That'll,
agree.
that'll work.
And that way
I agree.
we're not at the whimsy of every club,
Mhm.
whether that's a, because I think Susan's right, I mean, the ownership that it created in our community was huge, especially among kids who, you know, they don't always have that opportunity.
Mhm. Those kids had a great time.
Time of year's
They were all
probably-
white by the end of the day.
They were.
Yeah, it didn't take long either.
The time of year's probably good, right, 'cause it's a sunscreen, so if we do it before summer, before all the rains that come in the winter.
Yeah, we definitely want to get that in consideration, you know, the time of the year, make sure it's not too hot, kids out there. And we don't want them getting heat stroke or all that stuff, so. I think March, April is a great time to do this, just right before summer, it helps with the sun. You know, it's a huge help to city staff,
Mhm.
you know, for this volunteer to, you know, volunteer the time to go out there and paint these trees, because it's very time consuming. And when you get, you know, 300+ people out there doing it, it goes pretty quick, so.
Well, we had Susan and her crew, so they themselves were like 300 out there.
No.
What kind of art festivals and stuff like that do we have around March, do we want to avoid those weekends?
Mhm.
Between, you know, where do we want to avoid, because we don't want to do it on a weekend, you got sports, because that's a lot of our manpower, right? We want those kids out there painting.
Well, and spring break too.
We
I think there's always sports though.
Yeah,
Well, no, you have
End
about a
of-
3-4 week gap between basketball and soccer.
Usually spring starts usually the last weekend of March or first weekend of April, depending on when the calendar hits.
That's right.
I mean, we have practices during the week before that,
We've
but
only got 2 more weeks of
Saturdays we
basketball.
don't yet. We're done, for winter, we're done the 18th, so it's usually the second weekend of February, and then the run's right after that.
All of March is clear for sports, what about art stuff?
So first weekend in March is always the Art and Wine Festival. Last weekend in March is always Troop 99's, Boy Scout Run. And this year, it's also, that last weekend is State of the City and Historical Society Home Tour. But that second and third week, 11th, second week is spring break.
Mhm.
Third week, the 18th, there's nothing going on. Yeah, I guess you got the front and the back end.
Would it be better, if those are only 2 weekends, would it be better I'm gonna guess it would be better the weekend after spring break. What do you guys think?
That fourth weekend in March, you haven't started basketball yet, 'cause that's always like right on the first.
That's when the
Or
run
soccer.
and the
That's a
home
5K?
tour are,
The 25th, yeah,
Okay.
February
Boy Scout
25th.
run.
In the State of the City.
Are there a lot of trees that need painting still from last time? I looked, it was November 5th of 2021. when we did it.
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I could definitely double check to make sure, you know, areas that need it more than others,
Would the plan be to paint all of them though,
as
ideally?
much as
Right.
the volunteers can paint, you
Yeah.
know, any help to city staff would be tremendous.
Because
then-
can we set 2 dates, like an initial and then a follow-up, and then it gives people more options to, because you had a couple days, it might have been Saturday, Sunday last time you did
Mhm.
it, but
Yeah,
if you have a couple weekends,
Divide it up.
maybe you can divide it up that way.
2 different Saturdays and try and balance our,
Sunday's nice, because Saturdays, everybody's got something going on Saturdays.
Mhm.
yeah.
Mhm.
And you get it done in one weekend if it's Saturday, Sunday, as opposed to stretching it out if that's what we did
Don't have
last
to worry
time.
about the paint going bad, and, I don't know, clean up as much if we do it 2 days in a row.
That's what we did last time, right? Was it 2 days?
So it was a smaller crew on Sunday, but that's what we did. We did, Saturday and Sunday.
And would it be fair, like, we get through what we can with volunteers, and then could staff paint the rest of them? To
Absolutely.
make sure it's done?
Yeah, absolutely.
That way they're all done at the same time?
Like I said, I mean, any help that we can get painting the, 600 orange trees that we have, it'd be, a huge help to city staff. So if you guys got 400 trees painted,
Yeah.
we're just left with 200, so it's whatever we can take, we'll receive.
God, you could almost have a full-time employee just started one end all year.
Yep.
Wow.
So
For
what,
painting time.
what is it we're looking for just tonight? Is it like the dates and then,
Essentially setting a date, or even dividing it up in, 2 different dates, or, picking a solid weekend that's, not involved in so much of the community events that we're having on. We could push it to April. I can reach out to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts again and see if they want to extend it into April sometime. April's kind of iffy because it starts kind of warming up a little bit more. So I think that's why they were kind of pushing towards the March timeframe.
that's when the sports
If you
are
give
gonna
a
be?
Saturday, Sunday, or 2 weekends to do it across, I don't think, there's so much less conflicts. You waste all that. Then where did we stage that before?
There's a little room right over here where everything was locked
Come
up.
get a thing of paint, come get
Yep.
some brushes, go.
Yep, and we'll do the same thing. We can set it up over here again.
We rallied here. We broke up into
we
Did
groups.
divided
we
into
do the
teams,
top of
yeah.
every tree? Or did we let them do that?
The top of it?
Like, I thought we'd like.
Stop at the
we
canopy.
offered to
Paint.
Yeah, you can see where the old existing paint is, and then you just go down towards the bottom of the trunk.
Yeah. So, it sounds to me like you're leaning more towards the 18th, the weekend of the 18th in March, which is the weekend after spring break.
I just think the 11th and the 18th are definitely open in terms of events
Less
and
conflict.
sports. I know that's the front and back end for most people for spring break. And I don't know how Kyle feels about 2 weekends in a row, leaving those 2 weekends open for people to do it, but then people have their choice. Because you've got people with kids that are looking to do this, for sure.
2 weekends in a row, I don't think would be an issue. I think it would more revolve around everybody's schedules. If they couldn't make it one weekend,
Mhm.
Yeah.
eventually make it out for the next weekend.
Right.
It's not a big deal doing it 2 weekends in a row.
Maybe those are the 2 Saturdays then, the before and after, just to avoid all the conflicts with other events.
In my mind, it'd be nice to get some sort of publication out, say, hey, if you're interested, have your organization contact,
Volunteer opportunities.
and we let all the local high schools and elementaries know, Boy Scouts, church groups.
Do you remember how we communicated last time?
Yeah, I do. And I could try and reach out to St. Thomas. Last time, we had a couple of points of communication with, we both know Jen. So Jen's a counselor over there, but she also runs one of the clubs. Is it Key Club she
She's
runs?
grumbling, I think she does keep up.
Yeah, so I gave her a call last time, and there was a couple other, like, we just got in touch with the teachers who are the leaders of the Builders Club and things like that, and said, hey, we have this event going on, bring them out. And then,
Their athletic director too.
right on.
Sports clubs out there,
How many people realistically, Kyle, is it good to have out there?
As many as we need. As
Okay.
many as we can get out.
There's not a point where there's too many?
Oh, I mean, if there's,
Okay.
15,000 people walking
No,
the streets, I
I
don't know,
mean-
it'd be a little bit different, but,
But-
a couple hundred people, even 50 people, as long as they can make,
I think we had like 60-some last Saturday, I
Like
want to
three
say.
people per, like, younger people, 3
Yeah.
per tree.
Okay.
Well, I was gonna get to adults that keep
Yeah,
corralling,
and then
Right.
like
you gotta.
that.
You gotta-
ring
you gotta
them in
brush
a little
her.
bit.
You release the brushers first, they brush the tree, and then the painters are right behind them. And that's the, right, that's
Mhm.
then tree to tree to tree.
One thing I think we need to coach the kids on a little bit more is the tripping over driveways. We had a couple situations where
Yeah, that's not-
cleaned things
that's
up
not a good
afterwards. But beyond that, I mean, they all did a really good job.
Mhm.
But we do need to have a decent amount of adult
Supervision,
Yeah,
yeah.
well, and paint running, right, because that's the thing.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And that's probably the one area that, I know we're kind of getting into the weeds, so I'll say this and I'll stop. But where we could probably coordinate a little bit more is the, like, who needs paint where, because at times it got a little like, how much paint do you have? How
Yeah.
much paint do you have? And,
we were just on cell phones, right? We had cell phones,
Yeah.
we had
You were running
your,
around the golf cart.
Yeah.
we had your
Yeah.
cruiser, I
Yeah.
think, too, and, later on in the day, we got another golf cart. Yeah, it was,
We assigned, you know, segments to different groups.
yeah, so there was quadrants, right? Like, so, for example, right down here was a quadrant where it's just the main street, we had a team that started north and just headed south. And then they met up with the other team
Mhm.
coming in from the other side of the lake. It was neat. It was neat. I'm thinking this too. Since we now have organizations reaching out to us, they know we do it, maybe we call it a day. You know, make an event out of it. I mean, maybe that's something we can talk more about after we get a date and stuff like that, but put it on social media. Almost annual, 2 years ago.
Beautification project.
Right.
Yeah, if we advertise it, I think we get the groups looking.
Give people T-shirts.
Because we did,
Paint day, we came, we saw, we painted.
Okay, that's perfect.
it was noted in the State of the City last year too, for that project, so.
Yeah.
Something to,
And we had
Continue to
people
do.
walking up to us, I'm not making this up, people walking by with their dogs, like, what are you guys doing?
Mhm.
Oh, we're out here painting the trees for the city, and I'm like, we didn't know about it, we would've liked to do
Yeah.
it too.
Some went home, took their dogs home and came back and helped us.
Yeah.
we can definitely post it to, the city Facebook too, and see if anybody else would like to volunteer their time.
Right
Do
on.
we need to do a motion about the dates?
I think so.
I would say move to set the date, and then this way Kyle can move forward with contacting the Girl Scouts and Boy Scouts, who are the primary people that wanted to, but this way we can also start pushing it out to other volunteers and volunteer groups.
Everybody who did it last year, I guess, and contact the high schools and schools, all those
Yeah,
organizations.
Kiwanis, Blue Star Moms, yeah.
Do
Okay.
you get like the 2 Saturdays around spring break, or do we want to do a Saturday, Sunday, just on one weekend? Like a Band-Aid?
I think you're a winner either way.
I think so.
A strong opinion.
I say we do it all at the same,
Same
More of an
weekend.
event when it's
Yeah.
one weekend, right?
Right.
yeah. We're not dragging it all
Right
out
there.
again and,
So is that the 25th and,
I think if we start doing it every
Week
year,
before.
it'll
25th,
definitely
26th.
evolve and
or wait, no, sorry,
be
18th, 19th,
Yeah.
yeah, 18th,
an
19th.
event.
Flash barbecue.
Yeah,
Bonfire, just kidding, don't do that.
all day.
February,
I'm serious about the T-shirts, though. I think that's a good idea.
March 18th.
White
Might be budget
White-
constraints.
white t-shirt.
I like where you're at, but.
Yes,
white T-shirts.
Now you're looking for fundraising.
Yeah.
right, right.
This is a zero budget.
Darn it.
Except for the paint,
It's a
yeah.
sponsor.
Yeah, I'll make my T-shirt, and then maybe it'll catch on.
You can go find sponsors for us, Anthony.
Isn't there like a T-shirt making, like, industrial art style CTE program anywhere?
Some graphic design programs have T-shirt makers, I think, like Verado might have had one, and Desert Edge had one once upon a time.
I can look
They're
into it.
always more
There's some
expensive than
gold
the-
dust in the air there. So, does anybody want to make that motion for the 18th and 19th?
I'll make a motion that we hold our tree painting event on March 18th and 19th.
Do we have a second?
I'll second, but I want to ask a question. Can we add in that we make this an annual thing, move forward with, and that it's always that weekend following our local spring break, wherever that falls?
I think we can, but I think you would have to then change your motion, or we'd have to make a new motion.
Yeah.
Because I think-
Acceptable to you, but I don't
That's
mean to- I don't mean
acceptable.
to trample
It's
your
acceptable,
motion.
yeah.
And that way we're kind of make it a thing, make it an event, like I said, make a big deal out of it. And I think some of our community would find a lot of pride in.
Right on. So we need a new motion, or a new motioner?
Re-motion?
Can you restate the whole thing?
I think so,
Start over, Brian.
with the addendum.
All right.
Scott, amend the motion, I can second his amendment, and we can vote on that. Not a thing?
I think we're complicating it.
Okay.
I'll make a motion that we hold our tree painting event this year on March 18th and 19th, and that we make it an annual event on that weekend, going forward.
Second.
Are there any
Easier
questions?
when you have to say it.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed? Motion has passed.
Thank you.
Thank you for that, Kyle.
You're welcome.
And Kyle, if you want to talk, we could start looking at how we like planned it out last year with Chris talk, so maybe at one point or another we'll,
I will be in New York then, but I will help plan things ahead of time.
right on. New York, huh?
Yeah.
All right,
Absolutely. I'll reach out to you, Chairperson Teddy.
sounds good. Pickleball courts at Scout Park. Susan Fix, Commissioner. Discussion and possible action regarding the installation of pickleball courts at Scout Park.
Thank you. So I've been approached by several people, people in our community about why we don't have pickleball courts in Litchfield, and I'm sure everybody at this table knows how popular pickleball is. I have in your packets for you a list of all the courts in the Avondale, Buckeye, Goodyear, El Mirage, Peoria, this side of Phoenix, Sun City, and Surprise. And I've highlighted the ones that are in blue that say public. And you can see there's plenty of public courts, but you have to go out of our city to use them. You have to go to Goodyear, Avondale, further into Surprise, or be in a community such as Pebble Creek that have their own courts. I know the rec center has a couple courts, and I know that the Wigwam also has a temporary net system over there too, with one court. But you have to be a tennis member at the Wigwam to be able to use those courts. So I would like some sort of discussion within our committee to see where this might be able to land, maybe in Scout Park. I feel there's enough room there. To do one pickleball court, you're looking at, they're 34 by 64. 4 courts can go on one tennis court, to give you an idea of size. Cost-wise, it's probably, a couple $100,000, I'm sure, to construct it. I don't know all the ins and outs, but average was about $50,000 just for a single court. That's not with any of the infrastructure of the outside of that court. As you all know, pickleball too is, cross-generational. You have kids playing it, you have seniors playing it, you have adults playing it. There is a system at some of these really popular public courts that they have a rack system where you hang your rack on the outside. There's 4 racks. When 4 people are done playing, they come off. The next 4 that have their paddles there go and play. So there's a system already built in to alleviate any kind of problems on the pickleball courts. And I don't know from Goodyear or Avondale. I've asked the guys at Goodyear if those courts, the new courts, get vandalized, and so far they haven't. And they're right across the street from a high school and junior high school, I believe. So I didn't know how you guys feel about it, but I'd like to get some discussion going on it.
Question. Is it just a concrete slab, or is it special surfacing like a tennis court?
It's more a court, yeah.
Okay, and then is there a net in between each one?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, like a small tennis net?
Mm-hmm.
And then is there fencing around the court?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
And because the worry there where you were, are there pickleball gangs that might cause problems? You mentioned, no
Depends.
problems.
Well, there's, pickleball players can be hardcore about their sport, and they, some people get very selfish about their playtime, and that's why there's a system 4 on, 4 off.
Gotcha.
So 4 people aren't monopolizing the one of 4 courts or one of 6 courts or what have you.
How do you know when it's their time to get off?
The game, they finish the game.
Is it like a set, or is it, what's a game?
It's a 10-point game. It can go pretty, I'd say 15 minutes at the most.
So with our, sorry, go ahead.
One observation, and it's actually more to your point, is that I think Litchfield's, we are fees, right? So while it's publicly available, our courts at the rec center have a fee.
You're right.
If you want to pay.
Mm-hmm.
And I just say that only to call
Mhm.
out that there is nothing available in the park that you don't have to pay to go play.
Good point.
When you say in the park, you mean in the city?
at the rec
In
center.
Litchfield Park, older, general, like, however you wanna look at it, there's no free place to go play pickleball.
How much of City Center is gonna cross that street just south of Scout Park? Is there any design to the south there?
The lodge.
The lodge,
They're gonna
right?
put
Yeah.
Scout Lodge on that corner.
Yeah.
That's,
That's what you're gonna run into, I think. One of the main things you'll run into is Scout Lodge is definitely being relocated to that front corner. So, and I think that was initially, correct me if I'm wrong, where they were talking about putting basketball courts.
Yeah, Donahue brought that a few years back.
There
Yeah.
was a basketball court there.
These are just a reference to the design for Scout Lodge. So if you look to the west of the proposed Scout Lodge, there's an empty space that says future building. There's potential area for, something of some kind of court, either it be basketball, pickleball, another tennis court, whatever it may be. So there is essentially space there for something.
be a good time to do it, you know, combined with the
Probably.
construction. to
What area did you say would be a
get it in
good area for
It
that?
says, where it says future building, number 5.
Brian, I kinda talked over you there. I'm
No,
sorry.
go ahead.
Yeah, I was talking to the other Brian.
Oh, sorry.
I was just saying, along with the construction construction of the Scout Lodge would be a good time to build.
Mhm.
So it's not just a home thing, you maybe have some efficiency there.
I don't think there's any current plan, though. I defer to staff. I don't think there's any current plans. I wouldn't make that a dependency, but that would be a good point.
Frankly, with Scout Lodge proximity, I think it would help avoid any vandalism.
This is a done deal, correct? This is
No.
a proposal
Mhm.
that
I
they're
think
still
that-
talking through with the committee assigned to,
And council.
And council.
And council.
The budget was very high for this proposal.
It's not affecting the grass, 'cause that, right above it, the line,
How, do you know what the size of that future building, what that footprint is?
I do not.
Okay.
It's already in place,
Hmm,
so that the field's already there, yeah. The field.
basing off, it's about 40 feet by 80 feet, just based off the scale. So 80 feet long by 40 feet wide.
Commissioner Fix, are there alternative locations in the park, or is this in your mind, the very best location for pickleball?
There's really not a lot of land left in the park, and after Camelback Park gets the parking lot that we talked about several meetings ago, I know Camelback Park is going to be extended out another acre, but then.
Substantially.
Yeah, but then they're going to put that parking lot in there, so, unless we tear up another park, I see no other location.
Question, how noisy of a game is it, like, compared to other?
You know, it used to be very noisy in the beginnings. Well, it's been around for a very long time, but they've changed because it's been a problem for communities. The dink, the dink, the dink. They've changed how the paddles are manufactured with the material in them. I believe there's some carbon fiber in there or something to absorb the sound. So it's not.
It's not as noisy like basketball?
No, it's not. Actually, no. Wouldn't be as noisy as.
That was one of our concerns, we were looking at the basketball.
I've watched
Sure, yeah.
pickleball on the recommendation of Commissioner Fix some time ago, and I wasn't struck by the noise. But I'm an Italian from Philadelphia, so that,
Well,
take it with a grain of salt.
yeah.
See
No, I
Chairman
think-
Taddy and Commissioner Fix go head-to-head in some pickleball, I think that would help us,
Yeah.
see.
Maybe,
Get the noise
maybe,
down.
not really a player. Maybe we could talk, Commissioner Gertz into sitting in on that one.
Yeah, I mean, I guess my 2 cents is that if we were thinking about Scout Park, that would be an ideal spot, because even though we're saying it's not very noisy, I still wouldn't want it right next to someone's house. Like, I wouldn't want it at the other end of the park, right where it's right behind somebody's backyard, or on the right side, there's a house over here, so I think if it was Scout Park, that would be kind of the only spot that makes sense.
Well, considering across Fairway, the south side of Fairway from this is the city center.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like, you know, I don't feel that would be a problem for those neighbors. unless we put lights in and we allowed it at night. You don't, I have no
Recommend-
opinion on that, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Do you think that we'll get the people to play during the daytime?
All day, every day.
Can I ask a question? Could you do a 2-in-1 pickleball, basketball? Is that common, or is it more so?
I've thought about that too, because I was also part of, sports being developed in Flagstaff as well, because there's so many, players up there also, and they didn't have a facility. And the one place that they do play, it's an old tennis court that they get 4 courts out of, and then there's a basketball court where they roll up these temporary nets to it. The problem with that is, when is it basketball and when is it pickleball?
Right.
And that's where I see a problem becoming, for the basketball players. And the pickleball players, they want to play pickleball, they want to play basketball, so I don't know how you remedy that.
Contention.
Yeah.
So how many courts could you fit here where that future building is?
To be honest with you, I'm not sure. I don't know the exact dimensions of a pickleball court.
Dimensions of this is?
It's about, it looks like 40 by 80.
And what's a?
One court is 34 by 64. That's
So you
with,
can only
that's
get
with
one.
the size.
And my concern is, you only put one in, I don't know that we're filling the need, right? You want to have at least 2
At least
there.
2.
And is this corner, is that available at all for any sort of?
It's a playground.
It's a
Yeah.
playground.
Oh, that's the playground.
Yeah.
Existing, you know.
So could you, in theory, widen,
Well, like, drag this out more.
right,
Move Scout Lodge to the right.
But I think maybe we decide in theory, is it something that makes sense? And I think it does. And I would also agree with that having a multi-use court, presents another problem in that the portable nets are either gonna have to be locked up, or they're going to get stolen or be vandalized.
Mm-hmm.
We've had people rip playground equipment out of the ground here, right? They're gonna take pickleball nets.
Yeah, I agree, and I think, I'd like to consider Camelback Park as well, since we are putting that parking lot in and expanding the park, if there'd be room kind of towards the back. I mean, it could be near that parking lot if that's going over there. I think that we should look at that and how it fits in space to see if that would be an option as well.
Is there an issue with like balls getting off the court? Like in tennis balls go everywhere, right?
Occasionally, yeah.
And I'm wondering, with all that extra acreage, could you just line up pickleball courts right along Camelback on this side of the wall, so to speak?
Mm-hmm.
I wonder, would it impede the soccer fields that are there then?
they've only always had
Pretty
one
big
soccer
park.
field, right?
Yeah, it's
Camelback
only-
never
yeah,
had more
Camelback's
than
only
one.
One soccer field, right?
Funny angle.
When we looked at that parking lot, I thought there was space for a court.
Yeah, I remember it being pretty big, especially with the expansion. Because I think too, with Scout Park, I don't want that to be our only focus, because maybe they decide, well, we don't want to build anything here because we don't know what we're doing with Scout Lodge yet. So then we'd have to wait for that to get decided, and I don't know that that's being decided anytime soon, so.
What is future building? Like, are there ideas?
Yeah, there was no design for anything there. It was just a space that was open.
Just a lot.
Mhm.
And do you know if that can be configured differently? Can it be lengthened and widened at all?
Yeah, so where it says future building with the white box, that was the potential area just for the building. The blue squares essentially is like a paver, it doesn't have to, it could be much wider than that.
Mhm.
It's just a paver design.
I agree with Brian, we're not gonna decide where it's going, we're not gonna change plans this meeting, but I think it's valuable something to look at. What would be the next steps to determine where and the feasibility of it financially?
I think that there should be a pickleball court and a basketball
Mhm.
court in the walls down here, one at each park, or somehow figure out a way to get both of them, even if it's not like a gated basketball court, it's just an open space. There's not much by Camelback, that whole kind of area over there.
Mm-hmm.
There's not like a simple basketball court that you see at every park.
Not even Turtle Park, in the back corner there, but then you have that neighbors right there.
Do you mean the corner by the exit, or the corner?
The other, yeah.
if we had pickleball courts, you could theoretically run leagues
Mhm.
through the rec center, and they could create a source of revenue.
T-shirts.
Well, see, if you do leagues, then you're taking away play from people that just wanna go play.
Well, I mean, it's, every Saturday it was league day, or whatever,
Mhm.
you know, I mean, yeah.
Yeah.
Or they have it reserved for the league on certain days.
So I like the idea of Scout Park because of the tie-in with City Center. You go play pickleball, go have breakfast, go do, you know, that kind of tie-in.
Cup of coffee.
Yeah.
Is there room in the northeast corner of the park? Like, against the, parking lot of the Wigwam?
There's another play structure
Where,
over
where
there.
the,
Yeah.
toddler
There-
play
Yeah.
structure?
There's a playground, and then you're getting close to houses, too.
Mhm.
So there's a row of homes that are probably 50, 60 feet
Yeah.
from that play structure.
Well, I see the turf flex space. Is that for Scout, the
Yeah.
Scout? Okay.
Yeah.
That's the proposed design. Obviously, I don't think this was finalized, but this was their proposed.
Do we know when Camelback Park construction is gonna begin?
As for the parking lot,
Parking lot and the demolition of the existing wall and the,
I do not. I think council's put a hold on a lot of that right now.
I think they have to do something with the under that water first.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking, right?
I remember hearing something like
There's
that.
not really like.
So am I hearing correctly that maybe we wanna get more information?
The Wigwam wouldn't care.
Absolutely.
Maybe RPG looks at other areas if possible to
That's what I thought.
place these courts.
Two courts right there.
Sounds good too.
Be far enough away from that one house.
And if we could, I mean, we probably won't get one anytime soon, but we would want timelines on, Camelback Park, the new wall construction, and then timelines on Scout Lodge, if possible.
Right next to
I don't
the-
think
Those
there's
right down
any,
strip.
a current timeline on Scout Lodge,
Just doesn't exist, does it?
not right now.
Was not currently.
Were they still doing that strip in Stag? They were gonna do like that whole strip on the south side of Stag's Park too.
Oh,
Yeah,
the parking
so
lot.
that's a
That'll
done
start
deal, right?
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
gonna start in a couple
In
weeks.
the next couple
Is
of
it possible for us to ask you and your staff to
Oh,
discuss
gotcha.
this with
Okay.
Woody or with a commercial pickleball builder to find out exactly what kind of space you need for 4 courts?
Sure.
And kind of get a rough idea of cost?
Should be
I
able
mean,
to look at the book.
I just
like,
Googled it myself.
Build costs, the city, some book of standard costs out there for construction the city uses.
Oh, like a Mojave, like a co-op?
Yeah, that one.
Yeah, I could definitely
I
reach
don't know
out
if
to
they have
somebody and
pickleball
get.
courts.
Because then they can come to us and
I can
say,
find
no,
out.
that's not gonna work at that park or that park,
Yeah.
Right.
you know?
I would recommend, if you haven't, to go to the Goodyear Park across the street and look at the 4-pod that they've got set up there, right next to the fire station.
Yeah. it's
Right next to
like-
the fire station, right to the east of that.
Our fire station.
No, the Goodyear Community Park.
By the YMCA.
Litchfield
Yeah, yeah.
Road.
Exactly.
It's by the dog park.
The dog park.
On the other side of the parking lot.
They have courts there? Oh, I see it.
And Goodyear, their
There's 4 of
Goodyear
them packed in there.
new rec center, they have beautiful courts there, and they are already outgrowing those courts and talking about putting more in.
Mm.
The one down by,
I know lights are a contentious topic, and it's funny because as soon as I saw this on the agenda or remembered it, I looked outside and I go, well, I just got done working and it's dark,
Mhm.
right? So in the winter, like the best time to play, unless you're retired, you're not playing during the week.
Mhm.
You can't, or it's lighted, that's it.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's why I was wondering how many people realistically, I don't know enough about pickleball, or the community interest to, would they
Well, they'll
come
get
out
used during the
during
day,
the
I don't
weekdays?
doubt that, but.
It would get used at night too.
I think
I know,
any kind of sport court, you're gonna wanna have some light.
Yeah.
Without
Maybe
lights,
turn them
though.
off at like 8.
We got lights at the baseball field, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
That's sitting pretty close to a neighborhood.
Certain time.
yeah, we have it to a certain time. That was a lot of back end of getting the neighbors' approval in order to be
back-end stuff when it comes to lights.
A lot of the lighting issues were stated by the residents of essentially not wanting them. I know it was brought up in the past, about the basketball courts at Aleppo, them not having lights. The same situation.
Yeah, it's a hard sell at each neighborhood.
Mhm.
Yeah, once in a while, somebody bring out portable lights to practice with the Buffalo Plus. Basketball.
Now that they got, lights at Millennium,
tripods out
out on the practice court, nobody can complain about lights at Aleppo.
Lights like, in our rec center, those are lower lights, aren't they? They're not like what you see at high school, the giant lights.
No, they're kind of more
low,
down
small.
compared to what LAS, the lights behind the school do. I mean, they've definitely, lighting has definitely come a long way. I mean, Jackie Robinson was one of the main ones where basically it's all pointed down at the field and the rest of it's still dark, so it shouldn't have any issues with the neighbors. It's just trying to, a lot of people, especially around Scout, see the LAS lights during the summer, and it's,
Those are insane.
yeah.
So then, devil's advocate question here. So I love the idea of it being close to the city center, because I can see, and I don't play baseball, but I can see people going and having breakfast or whatever, you know, or. We have tennis courts and the basketball court of the rec center. None of those are public use though, are they?
If you
We open
pay
it to the
daily.
kids, it just, now we
Basketball,
do,
we're opening up that.
but not to, the adults, it's still membership or day pass.
You know, if we have courts that we don't open up. Instead of having to and they're lit. Instead of recreating courts and the cost and finding the space, if we just made our existing courts more accessible.
What about the people that have a membership already?
Yeah.
I think, well, you're also contending again with programming,
Tennis
Mhm.
lessons.
and I think that's one of
Yeah.
the things that Susan was hoping to remedy was to have these free and open spaces.
Can we just shave off some of
Public
the
park.
green space right here?
No,
They
No.
use it for
That's where,
soccer.
yeah, that's
That's
where
a
Black
fourth.
ball is.
well, yeah, I think what Brian was suggesting, and I was wondering the same thing, is on the side that's closest to the Wigwam parking lot. I know this is hard to see, and everyone can see it right now, but I don't think we use that little area that's closest to the parking lot, that this isn't part of the soccer field.
Where the golf court path is.
Yeah.
Yeah, next to the south, so south of the little kids' play structure,
How close to the homes are you there, though,
Yeah.
Christoph?
no closer than the
Shove
other
that
one would be.
one.
I would certainly be close to that.
grass.
North.
I mean, yeah.
No, imagine right next to that play structure.
We have one here.
All right, right next, okay, that actually worked out well. Right next to that play structure versus right here. Same, that's actually more
Oh,
distance
like
from a house.
this, like
But there
this
you have that house.
area here?
Yeah, I'm not saying taking it out of the playground, throw it in someone's backyard, I'm saying like down here. Trying to
Just,
drop a pin.
a little bit
Oh,
lower.
I see what you mean.
Yeah, like there.
So you're
Yeah,
on
it's not
the
on this.
Right.
south
It's
corner
here.
or so of
But you can
the,
see
Yeah, I
parts
think-
of it, Tricia.
That's
interesting.
This section.
Mhm.
I do.
I do like your idea though, of Camelback Park,
Well, I just want to keep, I'm
where,
open to any
where the
discussion,
noise
yeah.
is already from the traffic.
Right.
And we could have lights there because there's already an ER across the street and a Taco Bell and a Denny's,
And there might be room for
That's
more
where they can go to
courts too, I don't know.
right?
A little different.
so,
Little playground.
for the time being,
Mhm.
what are we asking Kyle in the city? Are we,
Kyle's gonna ask, he's gonna do a little research to find out exactly how much space we need for at least 4 courts and the cost of that. And then we can get an idea, perhaps we could get aerials of the parks, the existing parks.
where they might fit in
Mhm.
with future construction
Mhm.
plans?
But I think Camelback Park is probably years down the road with what they were gonna
The
do,
Wooder stuff,
yeah.
okay. Are there any other questions about this, guys, or, go ahead, Commissioner Faith?
Does anybody know how we would go about finding out if there is budget for it?
I think that comes down the line.
Yeah,
We can
we-
recommend it
Figure
and
out
then,
That would be
Yeah.
more of a CIP
yeah.
improvement project.
I guess we recommend it, and then it gets on the budget one.
Mhm.
Or would we, yeah, I mean, it's down the line, but would we recommend it to council to approve or consider or
Yeah.
something? Yeah, so then they would consider budget and stuff.
All right, thank you very much, Commissioner Fix. Trees at Tierra Verde Lake Park. Presenter, Christoph Gertz, Commissioner.
Thank you. So I think everyone's familiar with what happened with the very large tree that we ended up having to cut down and talk about turning into a statue. Best I understand it, it was just roosted to death, to put it kindly. And during that process was also rather a disgusting sight to walk past or to smell past. Much to my dismay, when I was walking or riding with the kids, on the path that's just adjacent to the condos that are right on the lake, I noticed that 3 of the trees are starting to turn white. And my suspicion of that is it's waterfowl roosting, as was the case with the first one. What I don't know, is that all of the waterfowl, or is it just the mud hens that I think are relatively new, because this isn't a problem that we've had historically, and if there's a way to ameliorate this or to completely eliminate it. I just would hate to see that area, like, go from one tree to another. It's like, well, let's roost this tree to death, and then let's move to the next one. So I noticed it's starting to go down that road, and I know it's nothing that the staff is like, you guys are doing it and you're not doing it in the trees. Is there something that are my suspicions correct, I guess, is one question, and 2, is there anything we can do about it?
So your suspicions are correct. They're the cormorant birds. They're non-migratory birds. They're attracted to large bodies of water. We had this issue last year, obviously, with the trees, taking the decline from them roosting in them. We've reached out to Arizona Game and Fish to ask if there's anything that we could do with these birds. They stated there is nothing you can do.
I thought my should say the annual cormorant hunt.
Yeah.
A week after the tree painting.
One of his
I think that'd be a hot seller.
Cormorants.
They had that problem at the Estrella.
I remember seeing the
Yeah.
news about
Pebble-
like killing all the birds.
Yeah, Pebble
Yeah.
Creek has the same issue. Just anywhere that has a large body of water, we attract wildlife. And it's unfortunately going to be an ongoing issue. Some residents have reached out stating the same concerns, saying, hey, can we put predator calls up in the trees? I don't know if anybody wants to listen to a hawk screeching all night, but, I mean, there's options that we could potentially look into, but city staff is not set up to put things up in the trees like that. So, we did research about a little over a year ago now. We reached out to Game and Fish, and they pretty much said, there's nothing you can really do.
When nothing we're allowed to do, or nothing effective that they know of?
There's nothing effective that
These
they
aren't
know.
protected birds or anything like that?
Not to my understanding.
Okay.
Dreaded cat.
So,
Some feral cats.
is there any cities already trying to do any kind of population control or anything like that, or?
I'm not sure. They're non-migratory birds, so they're just attracted to large bodies of water. That's what Arizona.
And then just set up camp, so it's a matter of pushing the problem to
They're
another
being fed.
location, or-
They have, nesting areas. It's just a natural habitat for them.
And there's a lot of negative press when they had the issue
Yeah,
up on the
sure,
Stray
yeah.
Mountain.
Well, they
It
did.
It was
Really
kind of like
bad
all the
press.
turtles that we killed when we drained the lake.
Yeah.
Anytime you have these kind of issues, you're gonna have the opposite side of that, you know what I mean?
Other option is, and I know it's not the best option, remove the trees.
That's the.
That's the last case.
So,
Yeah.
But pickleball courts.
this is, yeah. There you go. I know when the wigwam overseeds the fairways, they'll come through there with
Firecrackers.
yeah. Does that work?
We get a lot of calls about it, thinking people are shooting guns. I don't know if it works. I've never been on the golf course to see if it's effective or not.
It is, but
Just
soon as
keep the seed, right?
they go out, and then they come right back down.
So the cormorants usually come over here in the wintertime. Summertime, they disappear. I don't know how that's not stated as a migratory bird.
Mhm.
Maybe they're not flying across the nation. I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's borders that count.
Yeah, it's,
No.
I don't know. So they show up in the winter and then they disappear in the summertime. And they're the ones we always have an issue with. That's the reasons why the pine trees have died at the lake.
Awful.
Even the rain didn't.
Are there any trees that are resilient to these birds,
I'm not sure.
that they don't roost in? I mean,
I doubt it.
let's start putting some stuff in now, so when those grow,
Yeah.
that we have good-sized trees.
Can we like hose the trees down? Like, is it a matter of cleaning
Washing the
them?
buildup off of
Yeah.
them.
Potentially, I
Not
could
that I wanna
definitely look into
ask you.
something like that. No. I can look into seeing if there's anything that we could, put on the
Boy
trees,
Scout
a
project.
scent,
Yeah.
or something. I'm not sure, but we've had this issue in the past, and we've looked into it and really got no answers for this.
Tricia, you brought up a good idea, Boy Scout project, for them to figure out how to get rid of these birds,
Yeah, it's something hard to solve, man.
you know?
It's a badge for you.
Don't you see?
Ability.
Or put together a
Theoretically,
proposal,
you can't
do some
shoot-
research,
you
don't have to solve the
That's
problem.
what I'm
You
thinking.
can't shoot firearms, but you can
Yeah.
shoot BBs and pellet gun.
You can start making a list of potential Eagle Scout projects, so when they reach out, we've already,
Mhm.
without hesitation, can say, take your pick.
Five-star difficulty problem.
Right. Escape, like an escape room.
So what are we asking the city or Kyle to look into?
Well, I didn't know if there were options, so I asked for action in case there were something, or you would say like, yeah, we should do this, and that sounds great, let's make a motion to do that.
Sounds like Kyle, will you please research a little into,
Well, it sounds like we've done that, right? I just hate to say, yeah, this is what's gonna happen, we're gonna lose those trees eventually, and then there'll be no trees around the lake, and it'll just be what it is.
Why not plant some trees so that they can just put one here? And then we'll still have trees, and then we could plan for it now.
Yeah.
What I can do is I can reach out to some of our surrounding cities and areas and see if they're having the same issues, and if they've have any resolution of to keep these away, or any, ideas or thoughts of what they've done, or maybe they just said, nah, there's nothing we can do about it as well. It is what it is, kind of situation. So I can definitely reach out to other areas around us and see if they're having the same problems.
Or if there's like another species of a bird that we could bring in that will scare them away, or,
Hawks.
yeah,
Well,
we have those.
I don't know if it's real, but on the wigwam, I know they put up the boxes to bring
Mhm.
owls in,
Mm-hmm.
I think to keep the gophers down
Yep.
and stuff, so.
Yeah, so I guess no motion, but yeah.
a year from now, we'll be like, what about these owls?
How do we get these-
I think I had this owl living outside my house, man.
Yeah.
It's freaking me out, it keeps looking at me, it spins
All
its
the-
head
All
around.
the ducks are gone, and
Thank you, Commissioner Gertz, and thank you, Kyle, for that too.
You're welcome. What do I have here?
Converting grassy common areas to desert landscape.
Yeah, this sounds really, aggressive, it's not what I'm saying. We did talk a while ago, on the open spaces topic of, like, what do we want to do with open spaces? And one of the items that we discussed was, well, when do we decide to turn something into desert landscape and when do we not? And that we can't just take something that has big trees in it and get rid of the grass, but the trees are used for that level of water and they'll probably die. What I wanted to discuss was, should we set up a policy where we say, okay, under these conditions, there are no more trees left in this area because they've died, they've aged out, or there's only palm trees left, we should convert this median to desert landscaping now, versus that being something that, like, you guys get yelled at because someone's not happy about it. We can say, no, this is the policy we set, looking forward to water restrictions in the future, that under these conditions, we're gonna take this plot of land and turn it into desert landscaping versus grass.
Great idea.
What kind of open space are we talking about? Are we just talking about medians? What are we talking about?
I'm thinking medians in particular, but not necessarily exclusively. I don't want to take away, certainly I don't think anyone wants to take away areas that kids play in, or people that, that sort of stuff. But there are a couple grassy well, there's quite a few medians between the streets that have grass in them. Some have big trees that we would kill if we put desert landscaping in there now. But some are going down the path of, yeah, those trees are gonna age out. And I think Vista Paseo, Loma and Vista Paseo, a long time ago, we had that happen, and we took out the grass, and it looks great. Like the street I lived on, I don't know if it ever had grass, it has desert in the median, it looks great, right? So if we were to say, all right, there's no trees left, or we need to cycle out the trees, let's just have the policy be, convert that to desert landscaping, and maybe there's exceptions to that, where, you know, some of the circles up north of Bird, where you have kids there, they're not close to a park, a little sizable grassy area is nice to have around, let them play and run in that. So I think we should consider those factors, but establish some sort of plan to where it's not just you guys like getting, like I said, yelled at about what decision did you make. And no, come to the meeting and like discuss what you want as citizens.
Great idea.
I like that idea.
So would the first criteria be no more large trees outside of palm trees?
I think the initial criteria would be survivability of existing trees, and that could mean there are no existing trees, or the trees are gonna be fine. And the next criteria might be, is this the only grassy area within, you know, a walkable mile, we can call it something like that. And if those things are passed, then, yeah, green light, convert that thing to desert landscaping when the opportunity arises, right? Like, I gotta fix all the sprinklers, put timers in, or whatever it is, or if there's a plan that we wanna accelerate, at least we have a criteria along the way.
What's the cost savings on something like that, where you gotta rip out all the grass, you gotta you got the roots, you gotta replace it with gravel?
Depending on square footage, I mean, it can vary,
How
putting
soon
in
does it pay for itself with water savings?
fairly quick, depending on the size of the area. You know, obviously, there's a upfront cost, removing, you know, replacing gravel, DG, you know, low watering plants. It could pay for itself in, you know, 6 months, it could pay for itself in 2 years, depending on the size.
So it's a smart money decision.
Essentially, yes, especially us going into these stage, you know, 2 and
Yeah.
3 water restrictions. Eventually, the state's gonna step in and say, only up to a certain acreage that you guys are, you know, accessible, maybe via public park or you know, a central common area, you know, something like around the lake. But anything that's not a common used area, you need to remove.
So it's really just talking medians, is what you're talking about.
I think that's the easy target, right? And I don't know whether how you're factoring into that already, cost of fertilizer, cost of seed, cost to mow, all that, okay.
Yeah, obviously, Xeriscape's probably one of the cheapest installs that you can do for long-term. You know, low water, gravel lasts forever as long as it's, you know, somewhat manicured and kept there and not kicked out everywhere. But long-term, I mean, you know, turf is very expensive to maintain. Always has been, and it always will be. Lots of water, and, you know, labor to mow it, you know, essentially twice labor, you know, edging and all that stuff. Parts for irrigation, you know.
Mowers.
Yeah, exactly. Buying mowers to mow this stuff. I mean, turfs are very expensive. Does it look good? Of course, everybody loves it. Everybody likes the green, but
So really,
cost-wise.
I don't have a median on my street, but I see a lot of them up there north of Bird Lane, like you said. And, you know, if I had lived on that street, I enjoy having that grass out there, you know, especially if I had xeriscaping in my yard.
Right, but what Christoph is saying is, you know, you have a, 35-year-old pine tree that's not gonna live forever. Once that's expired, it's time to.
Yeah, I'm not suggesting take out the trees.
No.
Yeah, or-
I'm just saying, if I had a big grassy patch in front of me that was well-maintained like our city does.
Even without a tree.
Yeah, without a tree, I'd be like, I wouldn't be happy.
So-
I would, if I was that neighbor.
Right.
I understand the financial implications behind it.
Well, I think the state's gonna probably step in here soon.
That's my concern, is if we have the opportunity as they come up to transition an area and we take it now, that's less that we have to worry about in the future. And it won't be one big shock. I mean, I don't remember how, I used to live on that cul-de-sac where we took out the grass when we put in the xeriscaping. That was kind of an experiment. I think it looked nice and it didn't really trouble me.
So it makes sense to have, like, the big circle areas that have grass in them, that's kind of usable.
Yeah, you can run around in there.
There's like a lot of small strips
Yeah.
as well,
Mhm.
that if that was converted and the large grassy area was not converted, it would still look nice and would still be functional.
Would we be considering like Wigwam Boulevard?
So I went straight to that in my mind, in Old Litchfield Road, where there could be places where we would protect the green,
Yeah.
just for, more so for the aesthetics.
Yeah, the interest of the city.
Well, and that's not with the trees there, it would be difficult to pull off ever, I think, with all the orange trees.
Palm trees are a little bit different. They don't require as much water, but citrus trees, absolutely. I'm gonna be honest with you, if we start removing turf in the center of town, those orange trees are gonna die.
Mhm.
Yeah.
And they're already in, somewhat of declining health because of their age. We took we put a shock to them like that, they're going.
Yeah, I'm not thinking
No,
about
no,
those areas.
This would be something that we would obviously need to, at a later date, make a decision, but it's almost like you wanna zone those decisions. Like, in these zones, these are the.
Mm-hmm, so, yeah, some criteria, so it's not willy-nilly like we.
Essentially, this might be like a 15-year, 20-year, policy plan, pushing through, saying, hey, once these start, dying off, we need to start converting these areas, since there's nothing essentially left other than turf.
Yeah.
What kind of trees would you put in the xeriscape? Would you plant palm trees? Would that be the?
Desert natives, Palo Verde, mesquites, pistache. We just planted a few pistache right here behind City Hall. Anything that's adapted to the climate and soil conditions.
Once we planted over at Turtle Park last year, haven't grown at that stage.
Pistache are very slow growing.
I'm sure about it, hey, they're still
Yeah.
about the same size they were when we put them in.
They're very slow growing. Chinese elms, there's, endless trees that we could plant.
So how do I, granted, this would be a long plan to carry out, like, what would be, I don't know if we can make a motion that's anything actionable right now necessarily, but, how do we want to go about developing this? Is it,
Recommend to city council, would that be,
I think you're
or would
ahead
that
of
just?
yourself.
You just
Probably
recommend
right
to
there.
staff that when they
Yeah.
see some failing trees.
That when this criteria are
Yeah,
met,
bring it to us, and then we recommend it.
So wait for areas that are in decline, bring them to RPG, and make a decision, hey, this is an area that we would like to see
Yeah.
go to this guy.
we could do that. I think there is maybe a
Clear.
longer-term thing that at some point, maybe we should raise up to council and say, hey, do you want us working on this plan? Because it's something that's gonna be coming, so let's do it in a way that's thoughtful, and we're working ahead of having to do things in a rush.
Having a
Successful.
criteria makes it so it's not personal. Because as your street tree dies, well, then you might come here and vehemently fight for your street, whereas, the other people's street who don't pay attention to the city council or what's going on, the city functions that might not come. And I think Christoph made a good point. And having those criteria, this is something we want to do, having criteria, so it's not something that, not an action item for us from week to week, or whenever we have it, but it's rather just
Yeah.
a standing order, so to speak.
When you have those maps that you're working on for those grassy areas, will RPG be better able to identify spots and see kind of size-wise and tree-wise what's happening so they can start to build possible criteria? Like, are they gonna need maps first before they can really think about what kind of criteria we want?
well, we
And how
said,
long?
the existing trees are declining.
Mhm.
You used the word survivability, but I think what you mean is, what is the likelihood that the trees there are going to last long-term versus are they?
Yeah, well, by that I was specifically including palm trees in something, or rather excluding palm trees from a category of things that would prevent you from converting.
Non-native trees, for example, the ones that were, the ones that, I'm blanking out on the name, the evergreens, they're not evergreens, the pine, was it the?
Oh, the Aleppo pine?
Indigenous?
Yes, the
Yeah, those
Aleppo
will
pines.
die, that's.
Yeah, they're not doing great here, right? So, For example, that,
Well, yeah, and I'm not implying that the tree is in decline, cut it down, but if that, like, look, we cut down the last, we have to cut down the last tree because it's dead in a median, then let's not plant more of the trees that are gonna die here, and they're gonna cost a ton of money to water and time to convert that area. But I'm happy to take it like that as well for now, but what I'm not sure on how we would handle is how do we bubble up that, hey, we're thinking about a plan on this council. Do you want us to pursue this, or do you want it, is this something you want to be involved in? Because there will be people that aren't happy about it. You're 100% right, because everybody would love green grass everywhere all the time. It's just not something that's a tenable solution long-term.
This might be a little bit of a public outreach stuff too, making sure that residents would be something that they would be on board with, saying, hey, we understand state stepping in, water restrictions could potentially be kicking in a little bit heavier. This is the idea and plan that we're gonna start going with, to kind of prepare for those situations.
I'm not sure that we need to worry about future water restrictions until they come, just like on a commission level. But I do think we could frame it as, like a sustainable beautification project.
Yeah,
I mean,
exactly.
if the tree gets planted and it dies, it's not a good-looking thing. We could make the areas that are just plain grass more beautiful and usable, sustainable way. Put it that way, so it's negative, like we're taking this away to save money and water. Doing something to make it beautiful long-term.
Well, when the water's gone, the water's gone. There's no getting it back, so, I mean, those restrictions are going to start flowing down to all the medians and the golf courses and the parks and everything, so.
But in terms of like you guys as RPG, one of your focuses is beautification, not necessarily the sustainability. So from that perspective, it makes sense to have your input.
Mhm.
Whereas from just the water conservation, maybe not necessarily.
I do think this is something we want to know from the city council. They want us to pursue. It's a cost-saving measure.
Why don't we talk
It's
to
going
Matthew?
have a
Yeah, we'll run it
very
by Matthew.
Yeah, why don't we talk to
polarizing
Matthew
effect
first
on the community.
and find out?
It'd be a lot easier if it was
Yeah.
handed down to us and then we did it.
Right.
Yeah.
And then you just have to. Maybe we ask the council if they're concerned about water restrictions so that we can plan for it to make sure that, we don't just have a bunch of dead grass when it happens.
Yeah, because I could think too, if we got a plan in place, that way, when water restrictions are introduced, we assume are coming, again, we don't have to worry about it, but then again, it's still not on, it's not on us, it's not on the city, it's kind of, now we have to do it, but at least we have the plan in place and something to do with it.
Yeah.
very proactive.
Okay, so next up, you guys will talk.
We'll get some direction from the city manager on how he wants to pursue it. Back to you guys.
All right. Thank you very much for that, Commissioner Gertz.
Printed or-
So excited.
They didn't print, right?
I want to know what it looks like.
Oh, that's-
Yeah,
All night long, I've been waiting for this.
The graffiti.
The
Yeah.
online
Just
version,
print
you
right.
can see the actual, this is like a zoomed in version.
I think that's what they are.
Yeah, it's the
They just zoomed
graffiti.
in on pieces of it.
Sure what happened.
We're working with a new agenda management program.
I saw it on my.
We're still
Like a
working out some
UFO
of these things.
picture.
Yeah.
Still a little bit of a learning curve with
Like
Yeah.
this thing went from 0 to 500 miles per hour
Pretty
and
much. All right.
If you're able to pull them up electronically, I think you could see the actual picture.
staff reports, Public Works Monthly Report. Mr. Ames will provide this report, which may include information on the following items: maintenance, current and/or completed projects.
Thank you, Chairperson Taddy, members of the commission. So Public Works has started replacing the some of the decaying orange trees throughout the city. If you guys aren't familiar, obviously a lot of them are the sour ornamental oranges. We've been replacing them with Arizona Sweets, edible oranges, a little bit more useful for anybody that wants them. They're not going to waste. We do have a lot of residents ask, hey, which ones are the good ones? We usually direct them in the way, say they're over here, they get picked first.
The dwarfs are the good ones, right?
Yeah, the newer, smaller ones are usually the Arizona Sweets. We have a few larger ones in the city, but they were planted, years ago. That's been our process with this. I'd rather them be usable than wasteful. Also, we have had a lot of graffiti incidents again in the Wigwam Underpass tunnel. Avenel PD is working on this. I've been working with them the last couple weeks, trying to figure out what's going on, why this has been such a high targeted area lately. So it's a lot of that's still under investigation. Hopefully we get some answers soon about that. Also, Public Works has started replacing our irrigation timers that are in our city parks. If you guys are familiar with some of the blue posts where the irrigation timers were sitting, they're old, rotted away, rusted. We've started replacing them with adobe-looking pedestals, the timers, so kind of match surrounding areas. They've actually turned out really nice. We are potentially looking at getting City of Litchfield logo plaques on the back of them, so it would be kind of a labeling for that. West Coast Arborist is still working on the hilltop. I'm predicting they'll probably be done by end of next week. I don't know if you guys haven't got a chance to check it out. They've come a long way. Completely changed that whole area. It's amazing.
What is it? What's that, hilltop?
Liloma Hilltop?
Oh, okay.
Yeah, up on top. We had a contractor, or a tree contractor, cleaning that up. They've been up there for almost 2 months now, so they should be wrapping up by next week.
It's being planned. Then maybe I should have already known that. What's that hilltop being planned for?
Historic.
Museum.
Is that where the museum's moving to?
Mhm.
It's publicly available,
Not yet.
like restricted right now?
Yeah,
Okay.
just because it's abandoned, nothing's there, so no trespassing signs, all that good stuff's up there.
So if you guys are done in a week or two, maybe spring break is a good time to plan the tour for the commission?
Sure, absolutely.
Right on.
We'll do a March, was that March?
March 12th, 13th, 14th, 15th, that range?
He's gonna be in New York, I'm gonna be in Mexico.
I
so.
won't be here.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
Well, I'm still down.
Private tour.
I'd love to get a tour, but I can't take a spring break, so.
And the orange fruit removal should be wrapping up, same time, about end of next week as well. Other than that is all I have.
Thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
Community and Recreation Service Monthly Report, presenter Tricia Kramer, Director of Community and Recreation Services.
Thank you, Chairman Taddy, Commissioners. The Community and Rec Services report is in your packet. I'll just highlight a couple of things. Aquatics, our seasonal lifeguard applications opened on February 1st. So if you know of any, in particular, young folks that are looking for a summer job, please send them our way. We're hoping to hire about 30 this year. High school and those first couple years of college are ideal. Yeah, 15 and up. We are also working on a temporary facility use agreement with the Arizona Dolphins swim team. Their team is based out of Verrado, but the pool at Verrado is doing some deck resurfacing, so they're looking to come over temporarily from for the month of March and a little bit of April. So we're hoping that council will approve that next week at their meeting, and that will be nice. That will generate a little bit of unexpected income for us and traffic to the rec, which is always nice. Our preschoolers are plugging along with their kindergarten readiness assessments. They've been working on their large motor skills, which is fun for them, and just got in a bunch of new play structures for their classroom, so they'll be changing out some of those. It'll be it'll be a fun time for them. In terms of community services, actually, I wanted to point out it's not, on our report, but we just opened up, the address listings for the community garage sale. This year's community garage sale will be April 22nd. So for those that are interested in having their homes listed as part of that event and being able to take part in some of the city-sponsored marketing, we are taking those, you can apply right online through the city website. So if you guys can share that with other residents, that'd be great.
Is that already on Facebook, Trish? Or
Yes,
social media?
the event's on Facebook, and the link to sign your address up is on the city website. Yep. In terms of special events, we had the Trout Derby on January 28th, and that went well. Families out there having a good time. Last weekend, we had our Comeback Buddy Arts in the Park concert. There were 800 or 900 people out there. That was a really fun time, great to see people out there. And our staff is just still in the middle of planning for the Spring Art and Wine Festival, first weekend in March. That's what's going on in terms of special events. And I'll let Pat share updates on sports for you guys.
Thank you. So, sports, we're getting close to the end of winter season. We're entering week 6, so we have this weekend and next, and then winter basketball will be done. Spring registration is still ongoing, and that ends on the 21st of February. And we currently have 462 total kids registered for spring sports between flag football, soccer, and basketball. And then coming at the end of on the 25th of February is the Kiwanis Litchfield Park Run, and we currently have 306 registrants, participants that would be doing that. So it's a lot of busy time for our sports group. We're just getting ready for the end of the registration as well as the run, and looking forward to another great spring season. So.
And that's all we have in terms of community and rec services reports, unless you guys have any questions for us.
Thank you for that, guys. Commissioners report on current events. Commissioner Fix.
I do not have anything to report. I do have a question, if I may ask of Kyle, if possible. Am I allowed to do that?
Depends on the question.
Is it part of the agenda? Was it related to the agenda? Probably not.
I will email him.
That's perfect.
Thank you.
That's all I have.
Commissioner Gertz.
I have nothing this month.
Commissioner Faith.
Good job on all the events. In the last month, I know there were a lot of them.
Yes, it's
They all,
been fun seeing Commissioner Faith at the events.
yeah,
We keep running into each other at them.
yeah, they all went really well, and it's quite impressive. Without a hitch, it seems. I'm sure there's all kinds of things that go on in the background, but just going there, it seems great.
As long
Good
as
job
you
with
guys
that.
don't see
Yeah.
it, that's our goal.
Commissioner Schwartz.
Nothing. Thank you.
Commissioner Colbreth.
Nothing to report this month.
I, too, have nothing to report. You guys aren't gonna believe this. Well, we don't have any topics to refer to city council, correct? You guys are gonna talk to city manager, okay? Looks like there's only one thing left, guys.
I'll make a motion to adjourn.
Second.
Any questions? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. We are adjourned. Motion is passed.
Thanks, everyone.
Gavin?
Should I?